And then I can send myself a link, preparing to go live, setting up the stream, redirecting me to YouTube. Let me grab a link, send it to myself, so that I can put it on your page. So if you lose me, you can at least watch it on there. Excellent. All right, so while that's coming over to me, we're going to go, we're going to touch on Snapseed, because that's something that we haven't looked at yet, and how that works with everything that we're doing. Let me just get this, because it doesn't, and then close that down. I talk to myself an awful lot. So what I'm going to do is paste a link into there, insert it into the post, save it, and save it. So then now on the Rwanda page, you now have a live stream of what's going on at the same time. So normally what happens at this point is I show you about 4 videos that kind of combine the skills that we've been learning. However, because of the way in which the internet's not been terribly reliable and the way that everything's working here, you're right? Yeah, I'm just trying to set that up. Okay. And because of the way the internet's not been streaming it particularly well for us, I'm not going to show you them, but I am going to put links to them on your Rwanda training page so that you can go through them. The idea is that they show the 4 different aspects of the way that content creation works. The first one being, let me just come over to my switcher just here. The first one is an Adam Shepsky video, but unfortunately it's not going to play because I've told him not to. And it's a series of clips that come together with some music, and it's a way of demonstrating that voiceover video. There's then a video from Bangladesh that basically is a series of clips put together to backing music. And so what I'll do is I'll put these links up onto your page so you can see with a little bit, and I'll put a voiceover onto them. And then there's one with Laura Bronson, which is all Laura Bronson talking about her skateboard ministry and things like that. So like I say, normally you'd watch those, but I think it'll be too jittery. And then I generally finish with a video blog from my YouTube channel from Moldova, with a young girl saying, if you come to Moldova, learn to speak Romanian. But she does it in Romanian, even though they call it Moldovan. I know, it's a strange one. So for us, I want to quickly just recap what we've talked about, and then I'm going to add a few things in to hopefully make your brains explode a little tiny bit. And then we'll finish up with some question and answers and a little overview of Snapseed and why you would use it to create placeholder images for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and for your videos. Okay, so preparation. We've talked about preparation and getting on the same page. We've talked about the different types of shots. We've talked about aspect ratio. We've talked about the 16:9 and the 9:16. Unlike the old-fashioned TV, which is 4:3. So the yellow one is the one we've been talking about, which is the 16:9 or the 9:16, depending on where you hold the phone. Old-fashioned TVs worked on 4:3, that wonderful square old-fashioned TV, but we're super modern people now, and we all have 9:16 or 16:9 ratio. When we go to the cinema, to the movies, we have that really, really super widescreen, the kind of the 2:39 aspect ratio, where you end up, instead of it being wide like this, that you end up with that super narrow, that cinematic look, which is kind of cool. A phrase that I haven't used is something called B-roll. Now, B-roll is something that we've been creating, all those extra little bits of video, the mid shots, the wide shots, the close-ups, the cuttings. they are all referred to as B-roll. It's all the supporting footage that you need that goes over the top of your video. So when you record your interview, that long interview, all of that B-roll, those extra bits and pieces, all cut in all at the same time. And you've all just vanished, but I'm going to keep going anyway. So the cut-ins, the noddy shots and all those bits and pieces are all the different bits and pieces that you need to make sure that when you have completed your video, you have that nice rounded piece that goes on, okay? And I'll just wait for you to jump back in, and then I'll talk about compositing. And you're back. Welcome back, everybody. So that's all of the different shots, the different B-roll that supports what you're doing. Compositing is the editing of the footage, the process of putting multiple images and videos all together all at the same time. By going into CineMaster and adding a main video, then adding layers of video over the top of that, and images and music and all that kind of thing, you are compositing. You're a video compositor, a content creator, a YouTuber, if you like. So when we add all of those different cutting shots and other bits and pieces, there's another phrase that's useful to know about, because when we add the piece of footage of a young person kicking a football or somebody drinking a drink, there is something else that we need to get hold of. And the magic word is Foley. Foley are all of those little sound effects there. As you drink a drink, that as you chomp through an apple. When those noises aren't there in your videos, something's just not quite right. Something's just, the feel is very different about the video. And sometimes when you bite into an apple, you can't get the sound of it. So you have to go back with your phone and record that person biting into an apple and then add the two together afterwards. But you might want to do it in a slightly different way, in slow motion. And that's where frame rates come in. The higher the frame rate that you film in, the slower you can make your video and the more smoothy, buttery smooth it will look, okay? So here's the thing. The naked eye recognizes 24 frames per second as actual moving video. Anything lower than 24 frames a second, and you end up with stuttery, kind of what we call animation. And you can see that the kind of, it gets a bit jittery and it's not very good. Anything above 24 frames a second, the human eye sees as slow, as actual video. So here's the thing. When you record at 24 frames a second or above, and typically our phones film at 30 seconds or above, we can then have it as normal speed. If we want to do something called slow motion, we need to make sure that our cameras, our phones, film at a rate higher than 30 frames a second. So at 60 frames a second, so that's 60 individual pictures per 1 second of video. That means we can slow it down by 50%, so that our 30 frames a second actually make a 2-second video, which means that when we slow the video down, it still looks really good. Now in CineMaster, there is a speed button that you can click and you can slow the video down. The faster you film it, so in open camera, go to the fastest frame rate your camera will go. Now, phones, in most cases, will go all the way up to 120 frames a second. Most DSLR cameras will go up to a maximum of 60 frames per second. But at 60 frames a second, you can still get some really, really good slow motion, and you can slow it down. We touched a little bit on white balance. When we touched on the screen, we created a balance. We said meter the color, meter the light from this particular point. When we gather, so the morning sun is blue, the evening sun is like a golden kind of warm yellow color. So when we talk about white balance, we're using that color grade between the cold blue and the orange of the warm evening sun. Whether it's a cloudy day, whether we're inside using fluorescent or false lights. If you leave your camera on automatic white balance, then you will see the color shift, sometimes between a blue and a green and a bit of an orange. So I typically say, pick a cloudy day or a sunny day as your white balance so that you get that consistency all the way through. And if you need to change it in CineMaster, you can go into the image adjustment and you can just tweak it a little bit to make it just the way you want it. We talked about the rule of thirds and how important it is in the rule of thirds in its most basic way to highlight where things are in your scene, in your camera, you know, the sun, the person, how you divide it up, whether you're using it for center weighting your content by putting your subjects in the middle, or whether you're going to the left or the right, but you're using what's called those rule of thirds to draw the person's interest into one particular part of the frame. So then, like here, I can be on this side of the camera and everything of interest is on that side of the camera, okay? And I might want to sort of highlight that I've got screens and buttons and bits and pieces all over here and keep this area for me talking to the camera. Whereas if I was to move over here and knock everything over, I'm covering the area of interest and poor Sam's then looking lost in the corner. So by being over here, the point of interest that I want to draw your eye to is all over here to my buttons and wires and switches and all of those fancy bits and pieces. And I'm going to pause right there and wait for you all to come back because I want to talk a little bit about storyboarding and the importance of storyboarding and how it's really important to divide it up into three to have a beginning, middle, and end. But you've all vanished, but I'll keep talking because that's what I'm really good at. So storyboarding is about setting the scene for what your audience is going to see, then filling it with the content that they want, that you want them to know, and then finishing it with drawing the story to a conclusion, to a close, and how you fill that space. So having a beginning, middle, and end, and your beginning might also be in three parts. You might set the scene with a very wide shot, an establishing shot. You then might move to somebody at a distance, arriving at a venue, and then finish it off with a close shot of them walking in. Hi guys, you're back.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. I just kept talking because it's all going on YouTube, so I just kept talking anyway. I'm not short of words. So I was just really quickly talking. So I just moved on to storyboard and just basically saying about how it's really important when you create your video to have a story. Storyboards, I divide into three: a beginning, middle, and an end. And then, you know, the beginning where you establish everything that's going on, the middle, the meat of your story, and then the end, the conclusion of how you wrap it up. I was just saying that you can also, I always work in threes: beginning, middle, and end. So your beginning part of your story also might have three parts. You might have an exceptionally wide shot that shows the landscape of Rwanda moving into a wide shot of the Kigali school, the Christian school, and then into a over-the-shoulder shot of somebody walking into the school. And that forms the three shots of your beginning. The middle end might be the story of somebody coming in, sitting down, while all the time you've got an interview of somebody talking about the life of a student, the Kigali Christian school or something like that. And then in the end, it might be how they move on, how they progress, and from leaving the school, and then what they would do, either going on to further education or getting a job or something like that. That's called a storyboard. And again, it's about how you divide all of the shots up and you plan your video. Okay, shot one, this is how we establish it. Shot two, this is the area that we want to do. Shot three, here's a young person arriving on a bicycle. Shot four, here are all of their friends. Shot five into a two shot, and then moving on. The planning part of it is really, really important if you're working as a team, because the shot list makes a checklist. And checklists are great because it makes sure that you don't forget anything, you're more efficient with your time, and that you all know what you're trying to achieve. The beauty of it is, if you're filming and you're like, hey, could you get a wide shot of some young people walking across? And then you go, oh, and could you get some extreme, some mid shots and some tight shots? If you know the language of filmmaking, it's a lot easier to talk to each other about the types of shots that you want to get. And so your shot list, when it turns into a storyboard, you all understand what it is that you need to get, the names of all the shots, and in many ways, you'll save yourself some time. All right, very quickly on resolution. We all would like to have a 4K television that's 72 inches hanging on our living room wall. But the reality is that the resolution, the higher the resolution of your video, the more data you require and the larger the device that you need. So we talk about 4K being this huge format. We then have 1080, which is full HD, 720 that sits below that, and then 480, which is just tiny. Going up through the list, most mobile phones don't need a video resolution greater than 720, because 1080 full HD video is designed to play on a 40-inch television set. And I don't know many young people or many grown-ups that have a mobile phone with a 40-inch screen. That would just be, imagine the size of pocket needed to put a 40-inch mobile phone in your pocket and walk around. It would just be crazy. And 4K video is 4 times the size of full HD. So even though full HD is great and looks good, if you need to have a lower, if you need to use less data, because a 720 resolution video uses 4 times less data than a full HD video, you can create content that still looks good and push it out across mobile devices, and your young people or even your grown-ups will then need less data or use less data on the videos and content that you create. I'm going really fast through this. We've talked a little bit about the editing language and about the cutaways, the cut-ins, the noddy shots and other bits and pieces. Over the coming weeks and months, so I'm not expecting you to become wizards in video instantly today. I'm expecting you to have some basic and some fundamental concepts that you understand. So over the weeks as we move forward, and I create little videos to support you moving forward and send you a series of challenges on content creation, your skills will grow and your skills will develop. I think it's absolutely crazy to talk about you guys from now being like completely professional when most people spend years learning the art of videography. I think this is going to be this is like your 101 taster session, and over the weeks we'll get better and better, because ultimately you're going to talk about the type of equipment that we use. Now, pretty much all of you are using mobile phones. The mobile phone at the moment is one of the best ways for content creation. A lot of us can do 4K video, full HD videos. We can stream all sorts of different resolutions. And when I say stream, we can do live streaming and all sorts of bits and pieces. When we then move into more compact cameras, the next stage up is then to typically go for something like this, a Sony compact camera with a flip-up screen, so you're able to create videos. This is going to be quite entertaining. At the same time as seeing what you're creating. That very much that YouTube style. it has a fixed lens on it. It's a compact camera. As I zoom out, the lens moves in and out. We then move and grow into small DSLR cameras. I've got a Nikon here, which has, and the difference between now is I can remove the lens and interchange it with another lens. So I can use things like prime lenses and macro lenses, like that. So we can have fun. We also then have more control because we have more buttons to play with. And as our knowledge grows, so can the technology that we use. Microphones. There's a microphone on my camera. There's also, if I do this, a microphone hanging from the ceiling just in case I need it for an emergency, because all the different types of technology you use are defined by what you need to do. If I'm going to be out and about making videos, then my camera of choice is the Sony a6500. It gives me the ability to change the lenses, work in fully manual mode, but at the same time have a very small form factor and a high frame rate so I can get really smooth slow motion videos. When I'm working inside, I use things like a Rode pod mic because I need a different type of audio when I'm in doing YouTube stuff. Same way with sound desks and things like that. You adapt and get the equipment that you need based on what it is that you're doing. I always recommend lights. Lights are one of those wonderful things. This is my little tiny compact light, little aperture light that has a magnetic cover on it that allows me to diffuse the light. And as you can see, no lights. And then I have my light up here on my little rig, and it just helps to add a little bit of definition on this side to contrast against the shadows. You start with something small and you slowly build up to incorporate stabilizers, lights, and microphones as you need to. The thing that always trips everybody up is sound. Sound is the biggest stumbling block as we move forward, because microphones and things like that, and the position of microphones and the cost of microphones is kind of takes us to that next level of videography. And one of the things that I suppose as soon as you start walking around with a camera on a monopod or something like that, as soon as you look like this, people ask you, you trying to be a YouTuber? Is that what you're trying to be? Are you trying to be the next Casey Neistat, Dan, or whatever? You know, is that what you're trying to do as you're holding your video camera and like, hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the like button. So all of those kind of things. So we almost then have to go, where are we starting? How are we going to develop the ideas that we have for content creation and getting ready to show off what we do? I always say, start with what you do best. Start with what you're passionate about and what drives you. You come across better on video when you're talking about something that you're excited about and passionate about. If you're talking about something that you're absolutely bored to tears about and really have no interest in, that's going to come across in your video. And as you can see, I'm passionate and love videography. I'm going to stick you some links into some of the projects that I've worked on. And I've just finished a couple of videos for South Africa, for Neisner, and I'm pleased with them. They look really good. That's the kind of thing that motivates me and excites me. What motivates me more is actually physically turning up to a nation and working face to face with people. Being on the internet and doing this over a screen like this really isn't inspiring and exciting to me. But at the moment, it's the only way that we can do this. There's so much more fun when you turn up and you're eating together and you're sharing stories and you're visiting ministry sites and hand in hand touching cameras and working out the best way to make awesome content. So when I talk, I get very excited. And so that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to find something that if you're excited about making coffee, because I know I love making coffee, then make a video and practice your skill of video creation by showing everybody how to make a cup of coffee, but by using the techniques of holding the camera and panning it in a particular way, locking the exposure so the light is just nice, having a light source behind you rather than in front of you. So all of these things are taken care of. So your audience gets fully engaged and loves your awesome content. I've just been talking an awful lot for like half an hour. Ask me questions. I'm sure there are things you would like to ask me. And so I'd like to, let's have a question and answer, and then I'll show you Snapseed for the budding photographers amongst you.
A good question. So thank you for introducing us to this, say, Kin Master. It is interesting to use it on the phone, but once we go to use it on the laptop, it changes the name. It becomes Filmora. Do you think is there the difference of the service done by this KineMaster on the phone and what is done?
Oh, you frozen a bit. So yeah, the hardware, the software on the laptop is going to be a little bit more powerful. I think I'll just wait till you're moving again so I know that you can actually hear me before I carry on, because you've all frozen. And you might all vanish in a second. Nope, you all vanished. So while I'm waiting for you to come back, there are free versions of various bits of software that you can use. There's OpenClip. I know there's Filmora that has a free and a paid level, and there's also things like DaVinci Resolve, which you can download all for free. Just depends how powerful your computer is as to whether you can actually use those or not. But I'm going to wait and pause because I just told YouTube an answer to a question and there's nobody there. So I'll just have some lemonade.
Still waiting.
Hi, so we're currently doing training with Rwanda at the moment, but unfortunately the guys in Rwanda have vanished. I'm set up with my presentation. I've got my light, I've got my camera running, got my laptop running. I've got my panel so I can see my presentation running up on the screen above me, just like an average day in the office. Obviously, when you look from the camera going this way, the office is really tidy, but when you look at the office this way, it's really untidy. And so this has been a 6-hour training day. We've broken it into 4 sessions, and then an hour, then a break, then an hour, then a break, then an hour, then a break, then an hour, and then we finish. So we're into the final 28 minutes at the moment, and we've probably lost the internet connection a few times, but you know what?
6, 7.
6, 7 times. But we're still streaming out live on YouTube at the moment. And guys in Rwanda, I have had the most awesome time training you, and I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing you again in the future. I will one day, when lockdown finishes, be able to come and spend time with you. we can hopefully fly the drone. We can bring some cameras, do some stabilized stuff, and just take you to the next level of filmmaking. Obviously, I've got some blackboard paint here, which I'm going to paint on my office wall at some point. So I can draw pictures and write myself notes to say, don't forget to go to Rwanda. Let's check out what equipment they have. Let's see what equipment they need and things like that. But for now, I'm just waffling, making up time. I'm going to open YouTube, I think, on my computer here. Let's go to Vimeo and see what we can find. Let's go to vimeo.com. I hope it's your internet and not my internet that's vanished, because that would be really awkward if it was my internet that had totally died. And yeah, I'm sat here talking away and you guys have all gone. Well, it was there a minute ago.
YouTube's not working.
Has YouTube stopped?
No, I'm saying if you were waffling to yourself and you're not even recording it. for YouTube.
I know. Let's have a look. So let's just go over here, visit the website, and go.
Are you recording the meeting now?
I'm recording the meeting. I'm recording in all sense of the word. So let's go 2020 Rwanda training. Just need to move the menu over a little bit. And then obviously the live stream's happening down here, so I can still see myself going there. Let's go to some videos and let's go to
Sensitive nations, though.
we're not going to use any of those. Let's just go with Team Kenya. Let's have a see what happens when we play this. Let's have a see. Let's hit play on that one and let's go full screen.
Thinking.
It really is thinking.
Everything's thinking today.
I don't like that it's thinking. That's moving over there. Live streaming 101. Do 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 do. I don't know why I'm dancing. I shouldn't really dance. No, I'm not good at dancing.
Laba, come in. You're welcome.
Oh. Hi and welcome back.
Hola,
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah,
connection is not Rwanda.
that's fine. So
Sorry.
I started answering your question, but then I thought I'd better wait until you come back so I can actually answer your question properly. So Cinemaster on your mobile phone, Filmora and DaVinci Resolve and OpenClip. There are lots of different free versions of video editing software for your laptop computer. It's about finding one that works best on your computer, depending on how powerful your computer is. If you have a relatively stable and powerful computer, I genuinely always recommend DaVinci Resolve as an editing platform because it's professional editing software and it's completely free. But unfortunately, it does require slightly a good PC to be able, or Apple Mac to be able to run it. Filmora and stuff like that are also really good. They allow you to create content. It's just making sure there's a free version and a paid version. In all free versions of all the editing software, as long as you're not trying to use too many plugins and you're just using crossfades and just simple cuts, absolutely fine. And in many ways, I try and do as much as you can without using any plugins, because then you can use any editing software. You're not reliant on a special plugin or anything like that. There's some links to some, in the additional resources on the training page, there are some links to some different video editing platforms. And so download one, see how it works. It sounds like you've already downloaded one. I just say don't try and avoid using plugins and just get used to the simple crossfades and regular blade tool to cut footage up and play with it that way to start with. Would be the answer, my long answer to your short question. Any other questions? Just lots of brains full of information, I see. Okay, so I think I was just trying, but it didn't load up here. I was just trying to see if I could play you a video, but the computer, I seem to be using all of the internet speed. For some reason, it just doesn't want to play. All right, so, oh, no, it's thinking about it. Okay, so what I'll quickly do then is I'll show you Snapseed really, really quickly and what it's capable of. Then we'll finish off with, if you have any kind of closing questions. Then I want to write a short list. And so I'll take 5 minutes to show you Snapseed. And then I'm going to use our remaining time for some questions, but to also draw up a list and say, so have in the back of your mind, what is it that you want to learn moving forward? So once today is over, what else do you want to know? Let's make a list. And then I want to look at how I can support all of you guys by creating content that you can watch on YouTube that then takes you to the next level of filmmaking, so you can continue and start building, continue to either create videos or start building videos and content and things like that. So without further ado, I'll do the third thing that I said right at the beginning, which is show you Snapseed, and then we can go forward from there. So let me just connect my phone to my computer in such a way that it gets, that you can all see. I'll make sure I'm connected to the right Wi-Fi and then launch. This is a bit where you just get to watch me try and connect a camera and a computer, but you've all frozen, so that's okay. They've gone. Let's just, when you come back, we're just going to do Q. I shan't show you Snapseed because I think the internet connection is not going to hold out for Snapseed. I'll show you, we'll go through the Q and, no, we'll go through the list. So let's move that to over there. Move, create a new slide in preparation. I'm going to go like that over there. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to, oh, yeah.
Your video's frozen on Zoom.
It's because I come back in. Okay, welcome back. All right. The internet is clearly dying very slowly. All right. I have an old-fashioned pen and a piece of paper, and I'm going to make a list. If I was to make some videos to help you in the next level of your video training, what would you like to know about? I'll just wait for you to come back. You back? Hey.
Can you just write it in the comments?
Yeah. Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. What 5 things would you like to learn about?
Piece of paper.
Let me hit this play button. Do that. Oh,
Hello?
I'm back. What did I do with my pen?
What did you do with your pen? You've just had it in your hand.
I don't know. I think it just fell somewhere. Your toes. So paranoid about running over your toes.
I know, it's fine. I appreciate that. I mean, if they can't answer it today. No.
uzi umwarimu kwigisha agahita yumva ngo wiye.
Hello.
Yeah. All right, there we go. I'm going to do it like that and then like that. There we go.
Internet is not.
I very much think this is the final thing that we're going to be doing today. So 5 things. What 5 things would you like to learn more about?
Again.
You might have to type them in the contents.
Like to learn more. Yeah.
And we're frozen. I'm just gonna do a bit of gallery view because, like, there we go. I'm sorry, but you gone. Oh, you're back.
Oya to learn more kurushaho kwiga. Ngo kuva mane ntabwo byageze. 5 things like to learn more. Bavuga ngo ibi ngibi ndashaka kubisubiramo cyane. Cyane cyane bya byo gufata ifoto. Camera says. Yes, the one question. Is it just the one question?
So it's just the one question. Yep. So the one question is, what 5 things would you like to learn more about? And then what I will do is I will create 5 videos that explain and also give you a task to do as a result of those 5 things. So we're making a list of 5 things you would like to know more about, whether that's how to put together a story, how to do slow motion, or how to put together a video, you know, what are the components that make a video. So you can say 5 things, can be small or they can be huge, and then I will create something, and then over the next 5 weeks, you will then have to do each of those 5 things. No pressure.
You understand that? So 5 things. So you'll help us make a video of those 5 things explaining more over the next 5 weeks. So which video return other comments and fashion journey.
As a team.
Of course. Just need to get a more. That's a more selection. I think we are all going to write down 5. Right?
You can all write down 5 things and then take the most popular 5 from those lists and then email them to me.
Well, this is good because we've only got 10 minutes left, so that's fine. If it's going to go, it's.
All right, we go to YouTube and just double check. While I'm waiting for you guys to come back. So while I'm waiting for you guys to come back, I'll leave the question on the screen. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to find, let's go videos. Let's go live, and let me just get this one that's currently live right now. I'm just going to get the link for it. Got to remember to look at the camera. Keep looking down here when I should be looking up there. I'm just going to copy that link, go into the room under digital training. Oh, there it is.
I think you did that already.
Oh, is it already? I thought it said there was a problem. No, it's playing. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Don't know why I'm dancing.
Is it a nervous dance?
Could be a nervous dance. It's an excited dance. Excited that so much cool stuff is going to be happening. Hey, look, I'm going to move this back. I might just leave that there like that. You see, I can see me. You can see you.
I'm happy. I'm fine. So close and yet so far.
So close yet so no, close. I'm happy. Still streaming.
We're very patient.
I am.
Yeah, we're patient. We're waiting.
Well, we're excited. I mute myself because it doesn't like it when I left myself muted. It is strange. I will live stream going on in the background of myself. Okay, so I'm going to end the live stream here just to be on the safe side. So let's have a see. So YouTube, and I'm going to stop the live stream. And then I'll append the questions on afterwards.